I'm really happy to be back. This is my 4th year, and I'm really excited about tonight. We've got a very special movie for you. As you all know, it's the movie Safe in Hell. And I think that's a terrific title. It's from 1931, and it's a pre-code movie. And some of it is sort of racy, which I think we're all going to enjoy. And I'm using that word in 2 ways. But the interesting thing about it, the star of the film is Dorothy McHale. You're also going to see Donald Cook in the film. And you're going to see a few African-American performers. You're going to see Nina Mae McKinney. You're going to see Clarence Muse. You're going to see Noble Johnson. Now, the interesting thing, of course, with this film is that it is directed by a true Hollywood legend, William Wellman. And Wellman was known as Wild Bill. He didn't pull any punches. And he had started his career as an actor in silence. He later started to direct. And in 1927, he hit the jackpot with the movie Wings. And it was the first film to win the Oscar for Best Picture. And it is still riveting today. Some of you may have seen it just a few days ago, a Turner Classic Movie. I was up late at night. I was up much too late and couldn't turn the darn thing off. I just kept watching and watching. But Wellman did many, many movies, and we're going to talk about his career as well as this film. And there's no one better to talk about it than his son, William Wellman Jr. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about William Wellman Jr. He's an actor, he's a writer, a producer. He's written a terrific book on his father, The Man and His Wings. He's just completed another that will come out soon. It's a more personal look at his father. And Bill Wellman Jr. is also an actor who's in some films that really are terrific guilty pleasures. Early in his career, he did a movie called High School Confidential. There's also College Confidential. He's even in a blaxploitation film, Black Caesar, with Fred Williamson in the 70s.
I'm the token white.
He told me he's the only white person in it. He's also acted in a lot of television shows, going back to the days of Rawhide with Eric Fleming and Clint Eastwood. Have Gun Will Travel, Gunsmoke, and he's worked in more recent years in Alias and in CSI, the first one, which is the best of the series. There's no one better to talk about his father. And I'm very pleased to introduce him right now, William Wellman Jr.
More leads and more bad movies than any actor who can still get a job. Yeah, my dad, I tell you, he directed 76 films. His films received 32 Academy Award nominations and 7 Oscars. He used to tell me that his favorite period was from 1930 to 1933 at Warner Brothers, where he directed 18 films in a little less than 3 years. He loved it because he loved the art of making movies. Any awards or anything that happened from it to him was second place. But the making of the movies was fantastic. And to be able to make one after another, in the factory world of Hollywood, was just terrific. I mean, the film you're going to see tonight, Safe in Hell, they attached the star, Dorothy McHale, and he cast the rest of the picture. And to cast a picture in those days was no problem. You'd get a script. My father was a contract director at that time. Whatever script they gave him, then in would come the casting director, and they'd say, the casting director would say, well, we have let's see, Ben Davis is available, Errol Flynn's available, James Cagney, Humphrey Bogart. You pick. You say, well, I'll take Bogart, and I'll take Loretta Young, and and everything just went like that. It was just fantastic.
Tell me this with Safe in Hell. I mean, you've mentioned pretty big stars, and Dorothy McHale was not, I mean, she had been in silent films and had worked successfully. Tell me this, do you know what your father's attitude was in going into the picture, since he didn't have one of these major female stars at the time? I mean, did he take it sort of casually and then just went right at it, or what?
Well, like I said, the idea was he was going to make another picture, and this was a different picture at that time. One of the problems my father had at Warner Brothers at that era was they started giving him too many pictures of, you know, a very popular idea of a woman in trouble. Okay? Now, these women, you know, they were racketeers' girlfriends, they were torch singers, they were floozies, they were prostitutes, they were madams, and he got tired of doing the same thing because my father wanted to make every kind of film. And of the 76 films that he made everything. He made war films, and he made westerns and adventure films and comedies and melodramas and gangster pictures and kid pictures and everything. So he didn't want to have to do like 8 pictures were woman in trouble films at Warner's. 8 of the 18 that he did.
I should say this, I mean, when you talk about the films he did, I mean, some very famous films that live with us today. Public Enemy with James Cagney, A Star is Born, the very first one that he got an Oscar for the story, and it's a story that still resonates with us today. There have been remakes of it, and Clint Eastwood is talking about doing it again. He also does The High and the Mighty with John Wayne, and he does Island in the Sky with John Wayne. So, and Nothing Sacred with Carol Lombard.
Don't forget the Oxbow Incident.
Yes. Yes.
Battleground and G.I. Joe, 2 of the best war films. No, he could, you know, he could do it all. But the thing about Safe in Hell was, this is not only the story of a woman in trouble, but this is a woman who's causing all the trouble. There was an extra dimension here.
Well, what about his approach to that character? Because, you know, your father is considered this male-centered director, but he's directed famous women, and I think the audience tonight, seeing it, he's really sensitive to his leading female character.
Well, I think as time went by, people didn't really look too deep into his resume, and they looked at the war films and westerns and the John Wayne films, and they started to come up with this thing about he was just a man's director. Well, he was very much a woman's director too. He made 5 pictures with Barbara Stanwyck and 4 with Loretta Young, Carol Lombard, and they loved him. You know, he was Wild Bill. He was tough, but he was mostly tough with the front office, the moguls and the executives. My father took the producer-director title for many films just so he wouldn't have to have a producer on the set. When he did A Star is Born with David O. Selznick, he had in his contract that Selznick could only come on the set 6 times. And he said that most of the problems that he had on A Star is Born and Nothing Sacred was he had to keep rewriting back to where the original script was, because Selznick would rewrite every day.
But he liked Selznick a lot, didn't he?
Liked him a lot. He felt that he was the greatest producer in the history of the business at the time that he was in it.
So tell me, with Safe in Hell, what are some of the touches, the special touches of your father that we're going to see tonight? Things.
Well, my father, from all the years, he was, let's see, 38 films were made as a term contract director. That means he had to make whatever script they gave him without changes, but he could infuse things into the scripts. So if he got a script that he thought wasn't very good, he would work very hard to put some humor into it. He always liked to put humor, sometimes kind of wild humor. And you'll see quite a bit of it in this picture. He also liked to get unusual camera angles and a little more action and little different ways of, for instance, the very opening shot of this picture is a different way of doing it. The phone rings, and Dorothy McHale, you don't see her yet, her legs come up on the table. She picks up the phone, and then the camera includes her in it. So it starts with her legs, you know. When you see the scoundrels on the island in this film, there's 5 or 6 of them. my father has choreographed things that they do, and the comedy comes out of this. You'll see what I mean when you see how they react, how they work.
She's the only, she goes off to an island, I'm not telling them too much, but she's the only white woman on the island, which they let us know. So these guys are kind of horny. And I think your father handles it beautifully. I don't want to give away a certain scene. We'll just say there's a staircase that he works with. But tell me this with the casting here, and because you read your father's original script.
I have his script starting in 1930, and I love to look at them because I know what the writer wrote, and then my father writes, sometimes on the margins or sometimes in the blank page on the other side of the script. He would write and put what he wanted to do, and I was interested to see because one of the African American actors in this is she's a wonderful actress, and she had such talent, and she was a singer and a dancer. Now, nothing in my father's script says anything about any singing, and yet she sings an entire song at one point.
Yeah, the actress he's talking about is Nina Mae McKinney. And for those of you who aren't familiar with her, Nina Mae McKinney had appeared in 1929 in an all-black film that was done at MGM, directed by King Vidor. And Nina Mae McKinney, in many respects, was Hollywood's first black love goddess. And I interviewed King Vidor, who told me that MGM, the executives, were so excited by her. But after she did that film, almost nothing happened. This film tonight gives her one of her best roles in Hollywood. But you're mentioning there's something that's not in the script.
Remember, she did a lot of work in Europe too, and she was called the Black Garbo. Now, my father cast her. This is not something the studio. He liked her, and he put this song into the picture for her. And there's no messing around. There's no humor. The scoundrels sitting at the dinner table there, they're very well-mannered. They're listening. They like it.
And the song, I'll just tell you, I mean, it's a very famous song. It wasn't famous at that time, but it's Sleepy Time Down South, which one of the actors in the film, Clarence Muse, African-American actor, he was one of the writers of that song, and that song became famous. Louis Armstrong recorded it, and it just went on for years. But your father puts it in that is an incredible moment in this movie.
Well, I think it's a downbeat story. Okay? So my father, if he did a picture that was kind of downbeat, he would look for some little pieces, little touches of humor that he could put into it, and he tries to get it out of these scoundrels. And here he had a chance, somebody who really had a wonderful voice, and here was a chance to do something. Now, how that came about, I don't know. But I know he put that into the script.
And what about Clarence?
Now, she also was the first African American to get a contract at a major studio, MGM.
At MGM, yeah.
First.
Yeah. King Vidor told me, I mean, he looked back on the situation. He was really sort of saddened by it, that all of that talent she had. And she, by all rights, should have become this real American movie star. And he said it didn't happen.
She was offered a role that she couldn't do because she was sick. And they gave it to Lena Horne, and it made her a star. So she could have had that.
Well, the other thing, she does come back many years later. If you see a movie called Pinky in 1949, she plays a supporting role. But Bill, back to this.
Don't forget Clarence.
That's what I was going to say. Clarence Muse, the African-American actor.
The first African-American to star in a movie. The first one. 1939, Way Down South it was called.
Well, he also had been in a film called Hearts in Dixie in 1929. He was one of the stars in that. But Stephen Fetchit was in that. That was another one of these black films that Hollywood did when sound first came in. But tell us about the actors, the way they speak, because they're really not speaking in this dialect that we see so often with black actors in Hollywood.
Well, no. Clarence, when the first time he opens his mouth and says something, you'll go, what? Because, I mean, first of all, he had a law degree. He did minstrel shows. He was a vaudeville star. He was a playwright. He was he wrote songs. I mean, he could do anything. And when you hear him speak, you'll know this man this was part of the intelligentsia. This man.
And when you say he could do anything, I think he also must have let your father know about that song, and your father then put it in.
That would be my guess.
It's not in the script.
That would be
The
my
other one
guess.
in here, Noble Johnson plays Bobo, the sort of police officer. He's a light-skinned black actor, and it's just, I don't want to give it away, but when these horny white guys are sort of looking at this white woman, he gives her a look too. I mean, this is not Birth of a Nation. I mean, it's a quick glance, but your father kept it in there. We see it briefly. But tell us, if you can, with your father and what happens after this movie, with this long career that he has. Can you tell us something about the other things he does and the problems or whatever with Hollywood that because he was Wild Bill. He says he's Mild Bill. He's not. He's not. He's a chip off the old block. But
If you see the Lafayette Escadrille, that was my father's last released film, and I play my father in the film. Now, my father's Wild Bill, and what you see is Mild Bill. But I knew nothing about acting. I was thrown into the ring, and I was going to Duke University studying business administration, and all of a sudden I'm an actor, and I absolutely know nothing about it. But anyway, well, my father's career, like I said, he did 38 films under term contract, and then he left Warner's in 1934, and then he picked and chose the projects that he wanted to make. And some of the best films. I think my father was the most versatile director of his era. When you look at all the different genres that he did, and if you can pick a couple of films out of every one. You know, like I said, Battleground, G.I. Joe for the war films. You could pick, The High and the Mighty and Island in the Sky as the aviation films, and of course Wings. You can pick The Oxbow Incident, Yellow Sky, Westward the Women from his westerns. Comedies like Roxy Hart and Nothing Sacred. Dramas like, A Star is Born. I mean, it just...
And also, we do want to make it known that he did work with women very well, despite what we've been led to believe. Bill, they're giving me the signal to wrap up.
Yes.
He tells great stories, and you've got to read his forthcoming book. Read the book that's already out about his father, and read the one that's a more personal look. Mr. Bill Wellman Jr.